Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining a Pivot and Focus meetup. Today's virtual meetup will address Reinvent Your Marketing and Business Development with LinkedIn. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping items to cover. On the right side of your screen, you will see the GoToWebinar sidebar. You can click on the orange arrow to expand or minimize the side panel. Questions are encouraged and will be addressed at the end of today's presentation, so please type your question into the question box and click Send to submit. CPSMs attending this live program will automatically receive zero point 0.5 CEUs added to their online transcript. Finally, today's program is being recorded and will be posted on the Pivot and Focus page within smps.org. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for a Pivot and Focus virtual meetup. Today's program will address Reinvent Your Marketing and Business Development with LinkedIn. Our presenter today is Ida Chainman, Principal and Creative Director of the brand strategy, design, and digital firm Substance 151. Ida uses her 20-plus years of experience as a brand strategist, designer, marketer, and educator to help business leaders and marketing professionals make sense of trends, tools, and best practices in order to position their firms to win in the 21st century's fast-changing and extremely competitive marketplace. Welcome to the program, Ida. The audience is all yours.
Thank you so much, Matthew, and hello, everyone. Well, first, I want to acknowledge the craziness that is our lives. And if, as recently as 6 to 8 weeks ago, you and your firm relied heavily on face-to-face interactions, such as networking, trade shows, conferences, and other events, you're probably faced with the big question: how do I help my firm keep moving our marketing and business development forward? But even when we're not forced to be fully virtual, LinkedIn is still a must-use tool. So if you haven't been leveraging this platform, as they say, there is no time like the present. One thing I want to get out of the way first: don't think of LinkedIn as social media. This is a business platform for prospecting, networking, generating leads, and converting them into clients. There is a great deal of depth to LinkedIn, and there are many really in-depth, big picture strategies that I'm happy to discuss with anyone offline who wants to have this conversation. But today, I want to focus on a few practical steps you can and should take right now. We will start with some essentials for optimizing your LinkedIn profile. I know it seems obvious and basic, but we spend a lot of time helping clients optimize their profiles, and there's always room for improvements, or at least some tweaks. Next, we'll dive into the how of identifying, making, and nurturing connections. And then I will also cover some tips for using LinkedIn to share content. Before you can successfully conduct your business on LinkedIn, you need to make sure that yours and your firm's key employees' profiles, as well as your company page, help rather than slow your progress. In today's virtual world, and I don't mean just right now, but in general, showing up online and how you show up online is as important as showing up in person, especially since you never know when someone may be researching you on LinkedIn. Try Googling yourself or your firm's key staff. Even if you have a bio on your firm's website or a personal blog, typically your LinkedIn profile will show up higher in search results. So when your prospects are searching for you or your firm's key employees and see LinkedIn profiles at the top of the page, they will likely go to LinkedIn first. Do your firm's people make the best first impression on LinkedIn? Do their profiles build credibility and trust? All of what I will show you today applies to everyone at your firm, but especially its client-facing employees: leadership, seller doers, BD, marketing, PMs, and HR. Marketing may need to help other internal teams with optimizing their LinkedIn profiles so that you all present a strong branded front to the marketplace. I will switch to the live LinkedIn. But here we are in the live LinkedIn view, and I'm showing my profile because for what I need to show you, I need to be logged in. So starting from the top, headshot, not a group photo, not a family photo, not a vacation photo, but a professional headshot, and you should be the only person in that photo. Your background image, if you have a strong personal brand, you can certainly use that. But ideally, you want to encourage all of your firm's employees to use images that promote your firm. You could develop a series of branded images, for example, and this way you can give your employees some options to select those that are the most relevant to them. For example, representing their area of practice. So if you work in different markets or offer different services, or maybe it's something related to their office location if you are a regional, national, or global firm. And if you're wondering what it is that I have, it's actually an image from the back of our business card. Headline. So those are the words that are right below your name in your headshot. Identify 3 to 5 keywords that are more than your official job title. Include your firm's name and your specific expertise or maybe the value that you offer, especially with your firm's technical experts. Sometimes very highly specialized, very geeky keywords are exactly the terms that describe what your prospects may be looking for. As far as creativity when developing this headline, it's certainly something that you can do. I often see headlines like a dot connector or something equally unique and intriguing, and it certainly makes you stand out. But it does not tell me enough. Who are you connecting? In what space, industry, market? You want this to be searchable, meaningful, and immediately relevant to your prospects and clients. So go for unique plus useful here. About section, I see this section often missing, and this is a huge missed opportunity. It's recommended that you write this in the first person, and I know this may feel awkward. It always feels awkward to me, but it's also more personable and more similar to a real life conversation. We don't typically speak in the third person when introducing ourselves in real life. What is your value proposition? What do you bring to the relationship? What is your passion? Why do you do what you do? This should sound more like your professional story rather than a dry resume. It should be written to attract your ideal audiences. So think about the single most important persona you want to attract and write it for them. Everyone at your firm should include consistent, unified on-brand message about the firm in their about description. And the marketing team or your branding agency should provide that. But the rest of the profile should allow a glimpse into who you are. The about section gives you, I think it's 2,000 characters. You don't have to use them all, but also don't be too abbreviated or brief. Tell a compelling story. Be professional but personal. Show a little bit of your personality. Write in short paragraph. It makes it more skimmable, but also consider what it looks like on phones. Your profiles, your about section, well, all of your profile is not something that you do once and forget. Review your profile and especially your offerings and value proposition often, and especially right now to make sure the message is relevant and sensitive to the current situation, and make sure that you're positioning yourself and your firm as a resource to your prospects and clients, and that your offerings still make sense. And if they don't, be sure to tweak them. Experience, make sure your current job is listed and make sure that everyone at your firm has your firm listed as their current place of employment. And I know this seems pretty obvious, but you would be surprised how often this is not the case. Again, use common on-brand language and keywords to describe your firm. Fill out education. volunteering opportunities and positions that you held, licenses, certifications, all the other applicable sections that will help you to identify common interests with others. Did you go to the same school? Are you supporting the same causes? These are valuable connection points. With regard to your experience section, LinkedIn uses your profile to make suggestions to you and about you. So if you still have your college fast food experience listed, you may want to remove that because it's no longer relevant. Depending on how far along you are in your career, you may start weeding out your earlier jobs or in between jobs, especially if they're in a different industry, completely different line of work, and it's not something that you want to be surged by at this point in your life. As you're working on your profiles, and make sure that everyone else at your firm knows that, turn off notifications for making your profile changes public. Otherwise, it will look like everyone at your firm is changing jobs. There's a couple of ways to change it. Actually, there's there's a setting in the privacy, which we'll look at that section a little bit, but you can really tweak and fine tune how your profile is seen. But the easiest way, especially as you're editing your experience, for example, there's a toggle at the bottom that you can switch on and off. LinkedIn has gotten much better about not sharing every single change you make to your profile and driving your entire network crazy. But still, double check that this on off is switched to where you want it to be. Because if you are starting a new job and you want everyone to know that, then you may want to actually switch it to be broadcasted to your network. A few quick things I want to call your attention to. If you click on Edit Public Profile and URL right next to your background and headshot header, there's a couple of things you can do there. You can edit your custom URL. If your LinkedIn URL still has a bunch of numbers or random letters in it, you need to change it to show your name only. You may need to tweak how your name is displayed because if you have a very popular name, you might have to try a couple of things to make sure that the URL is available. And you want to make sure that the visibility of your public profile is switched on. Make sure all of your information is visible to the public. You want to be seen. Just like we show our faces and wear name tags when we go to live networking events. And people don't connect with generic avatars. They connect with people. Remember, this is about building credibility and trust. And many people will immediately dismiss your connection request if they don't know you personally and if they see that you don't have a headshot and filled out profile. Going back to your main profile page, we don't have a lot of time to do this together today, but unless you're an expert user, I recommend that you go to privacy settings. You just click on the Me triangle below your profile photo in the sidebar and go to the settings and privacy and spend some time there, making sure that all of those settings are exactly how you want them to be. Most important to pay attention to is account, privacy, and communications. Ads just allows you to tweak what ads you agree to be shown to you. Under, and LinkedIn, by the way, changes those often, so it's a good idea to revisit them periodically. Under privacy, if you go to how others see your profile, you want to make sure that you turn off viewers of this profile also viewed. So this is a box that shows up on the side in the sidebar of your profile that lists a bunch of other people. And so when someone is looking at your profile, you want them to focus on you, not see all of your competitors listed. So I recommend you turn that one off. And also, you should turn off the ability for people to see when you view their profile. So again, this is located under privacy, how others see your LinkedIn activity. And then if you go under profile viewing options, you have three options. People will see that you saw their profile or viewed their profile rather. They might, you have an option for just kind of your general demographic data, or I would recommend that you switch it to anonymous. And by the way, LinkedIn has very good and very detailed help and knowledge base section. So you will, if you don't know what those settings are or how to change them or what to do with them, just search the help section. So we're back to the slides, and hopefully I'm not going to switch to full screen mode just to avoid irritating a GoToMeeting. But connecting with people on LinkedIn is really your virtual equivalent of face-to-face prospecting and networking. And just like you don't go to every networking event or join every professional organization, but select them strategically based on who your ideal clients are and where they congregate, you have to have a strategy for growing your network on LinkedIn. It's not about having thousands of connections. It's about building meaningful and personalized professional relationships with a highly curated audience. Just think about it. If you have 7,000 connections, is it possible that you can actually build relationships with all of them? Of course not. There are also some rules you should follow when making connections, and they both are specific to what appropriate for right now and in general. The big question for everyone right now is, how do we engage with prospects and clients without it looking like we're in a sales mode? The short answer is be authentic, be empathetic, and be genuinely caring. Help them, even if it's not a part of your typical scope or your typical offerings. Don't take it personally if people don't respond. Everyone is as overwhelmed right now as you are. Focus on high touches versus sales pitches. And this is actually true for connecting and engaging on LinkedIn, not just right now, but always. Never, 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 ever use new connections to immediately start promoting your firm or do anything that can be perceived as a sales pitch. I'm sure you all have encountered it at some point that somebody sent you a request and they seemed potentially interesting and legitimate to connect. And the second you accept, your LinkedIn messaging gets overloaded with every piece of sales communication material that they have in their arsenal. This is an absolute no-no on LinkedIn, and people will disconnect with you. So what should you do? Once someone accepts your connection, send a personalized message through LinkedIn messaging, thanking them for connecting, asking if you can help, maybe offering to grab a quick intro call or at this moment, a virtual cup of coffee, if appropriate, just like you would do after meeting someone at a networking event. Don't use automated responders, especially right now. And in general, try to personalize, especially those initial communications if you're connecting with someone you've never met in real life. And finally, get to know people. Again, this is why you want to have a highly curated database, not everyone in the world. Don't be that person we all see at networking events who shoves a bunch of business cards into everyone's hands and runs, because nobody likes that person. So switching to LinkedIn again, for a couple of rules for connecting. LinkedIn will always make suggestions for who, based on your profile and your profile data, both kind of keywords and your experience and your education. It will make recommendations for who it thinks you should be connecting to. Never click on the connect button in those little cards, because what it will do, it will send a generic request to that person, unless it's someone you know really well, or maybe it's your colleague that it's really an accident that you're not connected. You always want to click on their profile, and then you will go to their profile page, and you will either see the big connect button, or sometimes it's hidden under more menu. If you click connect through that button, it will pop up an opportunity for you to do a personalized note. You always want to send a personal note. It's a must. If someone doesn't know you, or you don't meet their desired connection criteria, most people will not connect unless you give them a compelling reason. Try to anticipate their question. What's in it for me? Or at least make it compelling and personal enough that people will want to connect with you because you seem like a nice person. Use their profile to see if you can find something that is a door opener. For example, could you have met before? Did you go to the same school? Maybe a long time ago you worked for the same company, or maybe you didn't work for that company at the same time, but you have that in common. Do you work in the same industry? If you have a lot of connections in common, you can also use that as an introduction, or if you belong to the same organizations. Also, if you have connections in common and you really want to connect with this person, you could actually ask for an introduction. But you don't want to abuse that, so I always suggest that you try to connect on your own first, especially if it seems like you have enough in common. Being strategic also goes for accepting connections, not just for making them. Don't just connect with everyone who sends you a request. Uh, See if it makes sense for you. But when you do connect, again, send a personal message through LinkedIn messaging. Start building that relationship. One of the ways that LinkedIn allows you to expand your network strategically is search. It has a really comprehensive search functionality. If I wanted to start searching for the type of people I want to connect, I would probably start with their title. So in the search field, you can start typing, like in my case, it would be CMO or Chief Marketing Officer or Marketing Director. If you have titles that are more than one word, put them in quotes so LinkedIn reads it as one title. And then put or in between, and you can have, I think, 3 strings is the maximum you can do. As you can see, my search has a million results. So that's a little bit too broad for me. We want to apply filters. There is a series of filters you can apply. Sometimes one of the logical places to start expanding your network is to convert your second degree connections into first. So your second degree connections are people who your first connections are connected to. So to begin with, there are probably some reasons why you want to connect with them. You can select and apply second degree connection, and it will immediately start narrowing down your results. Still not enough. So you can continue with the filters. If you click on all filters, it will allow you to select geographic areas. You could, if you're looking for specific company or specific industry, so you can have a number of filters, and when you click apply, it will continue to narrow down. So now I'm at a manageable 200 plus results. Again, you still need to have a strategy first before you even start clicking through the filters. Otherwise, it's a rabbit hole. And another important activity that you should do, especially for those of you who started LinkedIn in 2008, so you probably do have thousands of connections if you stayed on top of it. And even though you can search for your first degree connections through filters, what I find especially helpful if you download your first degree connections into a spreadsheet, which allows you to sort them by company, title, or your connection date. To do that, you go back to the settings, privacy, and you need to search for how LinkedIn uses your data, getting a copy of your data, and click on connections. So the blue button will pop up, your request archive, you click on it, and your archive will come in. It could take anywhere from 15 minutes to 24 hours, depending on how busy they are and how large your database is. But it will come through your notification, will come through your email, and it will send you back here to a zipped archive. Once you download that archive, you will be able to open an Excel spreadsheet and again sort by either titles, company, or the date that you connected. So once you did all of that, clean up and prune your database. Are there people in your network who no longer belong in your professional network? Maybe you connected right after college or even while in college. Maybe it was when you had a rock band and now you do AC marketing for healthcare. Mark them for deletion, just either highlight them somehow or create a separate column where you can put an X and go through all of them, mark them all. You will have to go back to LinkedIn to delete them. And important to understand, people will not know if you deleted them. So within the LinkedIn environment, it's really safe to do that. Next step, who do you need to reach out and reconnect with right now? Again, this is your tier 1 group. Mark them as such and do a little batch at a time daily. If you have nothing timely or helpful to offer them at this moment, reach out via LinkedIn messaging and just check in, ask how they're doing. We all appreciate it right now. Next tier, who should you get to know better? This is your next group of people to reach out to. Those are valuable. Again, all of those are your first degree connections. So you're connected to them on LinkedIn. But those are valuable connections who you haven't worked. Maybe you met at some event or a conference and didn't connect in between, but we're hoping to see them again. And now, obviously, we're not traveling, so you can't. Identify them, message them through LinkedIn messaging if you know them well or have some value to offer. If you're not quite that comfortable, you don't know them that well, maybe see if you can begin by engaging with their content. Maybe they publish a lot of useful articles and resources, so you can kind of stalk them a little bit and then reach out and mention some great article they shared and that you enjoyed it and start the conversation this way. Next, identify your connection gaps. So are you connected to all of your clients, former clients, teaming partners? And sometimes it's the people that we interact with most often that we forget to connect on LinkedIn. Do that first. Then, again, sort your Excel spreadsheet by companies. So if you do work for some large accounts with multiple decision makers, see if you're connected to all decision makers within those accounts. And if not, again, identify the titles and the gaps, use LinkedIn search box to find them and connect with. Has your firm recently opened a new office? Who can you connect with in that location to help the new office ramp up their business development efforts? You don't have to go anywhere to do this. The spreadsheet itself, you cannot sort by location. So if this is your most important criteria, do it via the search function that I just showed you. And so these are 5 immediate actions I encourage you to take. Individual profiles. Make sure that at least all client-facing staff at your firm, including leadership, BD, marketing, PMs, HR, have their profiles fully set up, current, and on brand. Conduct real time training via whatever video platform you're using right now, or distribute step-by-step instructions. Again, this is an opportunity for marketing to show its value and for you guys to shine. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions about profiles or anything that we didn't have time to go over today. Company page. Did not have time to talk about this today, but hit me up if you have questions. A few basics. Well, first, if you don't have a company page yet, now is the right time to go and set one up. Optimize it using the same rules as we discussed for your profile. The logo, avatar, a branded cover page, fill out all aspects, everything that LinkedIn asks you for, make it as complete as possible. And then the third step is to make sure that all employees follow your page. So that will require reaching out to everyone at your firm and asking them, encouraging them to go and follow your new page, or even if it's not a new page, but people are not following it, make sure that they do. Personal touches with first-degree connections. We talked about it a little bit already. Meaningful touches. Share useful info, content if you have it. Otherwise, just touch base, say hello. Let them know you're thinking of them. Strategically expand your network. Use LinkedIn searches and send personalized requests. Publish relevant content. Become a resource. This is more of an ongoing strategy, so this is something that you need to be doing really from now until the end of times. LinkedIn should absolutely be a part of your content strategy. And again, this is a whole topic in itself, but just a few high-level points. Publish consistently through your company page and through your profile, and use both your firm's content and carefully curated outside content and resources that are useful to your audiences. So any kind of research reports or just trends that you come across. Encourage your employees to share your firm's content. They all have much greater networks often than your firm has. So this will amplify your reach and impact. There's a feature for your company page. It's relatively new, but when you post a piece of content, it will ask you if you want to notify all of your employees about this new content. So again, this is important that your employees have your company as their place of employment and also follow your page. Use hashtags and mentions in your posts to increase engagement. Keep in mind that hashtags, LinkedIn is not Instagram, so don't put, 100 hashtags. Use a few, use them thoughtfully, but definitely use them. But don't just talk, be a part of the conversation. In addition to posting your content and, of course, responding to any comments, likes, other engagement that people post to your content. Look for ways to interact with content posted by others. So especially your prospects, your clients, and industry influencers. Be mindful when forwarding links to articles that other people post. Sometimes the title sounds really enticing and engagement and really cool, but read them first, or at least skim through the actual article to make sure that the title is not misleading and the content is really of high quality and relevant. Always add a note when sharing someone else's article or reposting with your take on it to help people understand why this is timely and relevant to read. Also, whether you're sharing or resharing content, make sure it's not gated content. In other words, people don't have to have an account or create an account in order to read that article that you're linking to. This drives me absolutely crazy. And the worst part, I've done it myself by accident, which I hate even more. So just pay attention to it. It's an extra step, but it's absolutely worth taking. Specific to the current situation, when communicating, and this is true for LinkedIn or any other forms of internal or external communications, acknowledge the situation directly or indirectly. Although let's please all agree to avoid the unprecedented times phrase. But you can't just ignore the reality. Know what content is valuable to your prospects and clients right now. You may revisit your content strategy, your social media plan, things that we all had on our calendars to post. They might not be relevant. And it's really, there's so many marketing lessons we're learning right now just looking at everybody, but it's cringeworthy. So be very mindful of that. Avoid creating more noise. Before posting anything or communicating anything, ask, why this? Meaning, what's the value of this particular piece of content? Why us? Is it really something that we should be publicizing or is relevant to our audiences? And why now? So, why this? Why us? Why now? Everything. That's the filter. If you have something useful to say that helps your audiences, create original content. Or you could repurpose one of your existing pieces. It might still be relevant. Just again, don't do it automatically. Go through it and make those decisions. Otherwise, find useful content and resources created by others and share it. And it's okay for some of it to be lighthearted. It doesn't have to be all super serious, all work, all gloomy. We all need some lightness in our lives right now. But remember, this is not Facebook. So stay professional. And finally, make LinkedIn a part of your daily activity. Be strategic, be intentional, and be very disciplined about it. And I promise it will pay off both short and long term. And with that, we'll go to questions. I also wanted to mention that since I ran through everything so quickly, trying to stay within 30 minutes, please don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions you may have. And Matthew, if you have questions,
We do.
hand it up
We
to you.
do. And we can quickly take a couple questions. So first, one question that came through. Do you see the premium LinkedIn membership as a good idea?
I definitely think that if you use it a lot, it's worth it. So, for example, and I had my screen enlarged, so you guys probably didn't even see it. But apparently, and I think it was in preparation for this session, I've reached the limit, which I had never done before, of my searches. So LinkedIn, pretty much, when I go to search now, it's a monthly thing. It will reset. So if you are going to be planning on doing a lot of searches on LinkedIn, you may reach that limit. You have a monthly trial. So see if you're using it. I think it's definitely worth it
Okay,
if
great,
you're going to
great.
be
And
using it.
perfect. And we'll do this as the last question. We have a handful of others, but I'm sure you wouldn't mind connecting with these individuals
Of
after
course.
the presentation today. So we'll do one more. Let's see. Is there value to keeping connections outside of your immediate field?
Um, there could be. So again, this is very subjective and personal. It doesn't have to be the exact people you're going to be doing business with. It could be, think also influencers or people who are a circle of influence. To be honest, sometimes people reach out to me who are really, really interesting people. They don't live in the same country and I will never do business with them, but they're really cool people that I want to hear from, I want to follow and engage in conversations, and it could be very interesting. So it's not that you should delete everybody who is not a business target right now. But as you go through, that's why I think downloading that list, your connections into Excel, it's very easy to see. And sometimes you just come across people that you don't even know who they are, and there's absolutely no reason for them. But you don't have to limit it. There's no limit to how many connections you can have. So it's mostly for your own sanity and for using your connections effectively.
Great, great. And with that, Ida, do you have any additional comments before we wrap up the session today?
No, again, you guys, please reach out. This is like about an hour and a half material that I was trying to squeeze into 30 minutes. So Was definitely, I recognize it was a run through, but I love this topic and I'm always happy to talk to you, brainstorm, help you out. My email is on the screen, and reach out via LinkedIn or any other means of communication.
Well, great, great. And let me say, on behalf of SMPS, thank you to our presenter, Ida, and to all of today's participants. Following today's meetup, you will receive a link to complete a brief survey of today's session. Your feedback is very important to us as we plan these future programs. Thank you again for joining. You may now disconnect.